Welcome back to Biz 15 and thanks for listening to the Yorkshire Business Podcast. I'm joined by our regular, Andrew Rowley, Business Support Director here at Brook. I'm really glad that Tom from O.S.I could be with us today. Tom has been first and foremost a family friends for as long as I can remember. And then most recently we've just got together in business somewhere and started working together. And you've been kind of on the top of the list to get onto our podcast, literally because I know that you've come with so much wealth of experience and different ideas. And actually, we both bought our dad's business off at the same time. So there's quite a lot of common ground in there. Can you just give us an intro to you, Tom? So just talk about yourself and a little bit more about your business.
Yeah, so I'm Tom. I'm 26. So I started working with my dad when I was 19. My dad set the company up in 1993. So not only myself, there's my brother, who's Alex, who's 31, or is he 32? He looks about 45. And then Gemma, who's 30 or 31, can't remember.
So who looks 28.
Yeah, we'll not tell her that though. So yeah, I started working when I was 19, and my brother and my sister, very similar ages as well. And then as we've come through, we've gained more experience, and I think my dad sort of got to the point where he's thought, right, I'm ready to retire, I'm ready to step back, and then it was last November, he said, right, I'm going to retire, and then that's when we took over officially. It's been a great 6 months. It's been really, really good. I've loved every minute of it, but I'm sure as you know full well, it's been an experience. It's been a learning curve, but yeah, I've loved every minute of it.
It comes with its challenges, and this is the thing, especially when you are taking over from someone who's grown a business and had their own ideas, had their own methodologies, had their own team around them. To almost want to change it because you know the right thing to do is to put your own stamp on something, but almost not change it too quickly that it makes it look like that you're just coming in to rip the business completely. How did you find that?
But my dad is, love him to bits, he's a great guy, great businessman, but he's always been, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, he's always been quite stuck in routine, and what he's always done is how it should be done, and he's not been open to change, but when we were taking over, one of the first things like you've done with the branding was said, we want to rebrand, we want to modernise, we want to make it so it's a staple and a standpoint for customers seeing O.S.I, and as what we're doing today, it's all about social media content and getting the business out there. And so we had this idea, and I ran it past Gemma and Alex, and they were in full agreement. And then sort of mentioned it to my dad, but my dad's got Facebook, and that's about it. And they don't have anything else. So to him, it was like, "What are you on about?"
Yeah.
So this is what we want to do. Obviously, you still own the business as it stands, but this is where we want to take it and what we want to do. What do you think? And to be fair to my dad, he said straight away, you crack on, you do whatever you want to do.
I pretty much did exactly the same, where I knew that we needed to rebrand Brook. The brand was there in terms of the name, but the brand wasn't there in terms of the perception, and brand is more than just a logo on the wall. It comes with how you're perceived, it comes with who's running the business, it comes with the quality of what you're delivering, so on and so forth. But we needed that identity. And I think I actually did the branding without him knowing. And then I just literally went, oh, by the way, what do you think to this going up? Please don't say crap. Because if it is, I've wasted a lot of his money and a lot of time. Yeah. Obviously, it's what we needed to do, and we would have pushed it forward anyway. Yeah. But
I think you used me as an excuse coming on board to launch the branding, didn't you? Because I think you launched it the same day I joined.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly.
So, have you only recently joined then?
I joined just end of the pandemic,
right.
So it's like a year and a half now. But one thing that I was going to ask you, Tom, is obviously you've just sort of confirmed there's a lot of similarities between the two of you and the two businesses.
Yeah.
The one difference that jumps out really is that you've taken over the business in conjunction with two siblings, whereas you took it over on your own.
Yeah.
Has that been a benefit or a hindrance?
Don't know. Try to say this without, if my brother and sister watch this, but without upsetting them, if that makes sense. I'm sure Gemma will tell you fully well that she's got a lot of interest in the business, and she's a great. We all do sales as well as run the business. So Gemma's a brilliant salesperson, and I'm sure she'll tell this herself. She just probably doesn't have the same motivation as I do to take it to places where I want to take it. And one of those things, the reasons why, is she just had a kid. She's just had little Hallish, beautiful little girl. So her priorities are different. And it goes the same with Alex. Alex came from the warehouse into the sales role, whereas I've always had a business mind about me. I remember when I first joined working with my dad said to me after a few months, he said, "You've asked more questions about the business in the last 2 months than anyone ever has in the last 30 years. So I think I've just got a bit more drive, a bit more motivation, and my priorities are about the business, where obviously they've got kids, which it is what it is, you know what I mean? And the conversation when I said to them, when we first took over, I had a conversation with them both separately. I said, "Are you both happy that I'll be the managing director?" And it was a bit of an awkward conversation, because we were both a bit like, "Well, I can do that, I can do it." And I was just like, you know, over the last 6 months since we knew Dad was stepping back and we were taking over, I've sort of stepped into the role, like, without sort of putting my title on it or anything like that, you know. And I sit in the meetings with the team and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And eventually they both said, "Yeah, actually, yeah, it makes sense." So yeah, it's fine. Like, it works really well, and we all know what we're doing, and we all know the roles. And I think it's just because I'm the youngest. Sometimes I think it might be because I'm the youngest. They maybe I don't know. I don't know. They've never said anything themselves, but.
How did you come to work with your dad in the first place? Because did you have any other opportunities that kind of were aligned?
Yeah, I went to. I didn't know what I wanted to do, to be honest with you. I never really enjoyed being at school. I didn't hate it, but I never really enjoyed being in an academic environment. I never really wanted to learn. I just wanted to be a businessman and make money and entrepreneurship and everything like that. And I said to my dad, I said, I don't really know what I want to do, but I know that I want to work and I want to make money. And I said, "Can I not work for you?" And my dad's like, "No." So I was like, "Oh shit, what am I going to do then?" Yeah. So he said, "Go to uni and take it from there." So I went to uni, went to Leeds Beckett.
Oh, yeah.
Went for 3 months, basically went for freshers, spent all my money, and then thought, right, I don't want to do this anymore. So then again, I said to my dad, I said, "I'm not enjoying it, I really don't want to do it. Can I not come and work for you?" And he said, "No," again. So I thought, well, I don't want to be at uni, so I'm just going to leave and I'm going to go get a job. So I went and started working at Meadowhall. Got a job at Brother to Brother. Oh, yeah. And it was coming up towards Christmas, so I got quite a lot of hours, and it was good. I really enjoyed it. It was my first sort of real sales experience. And my dad's, I'd lived with my dad still at this point, and I was leaving the house at 11 o'clock at night to go do sale prep for Boxing Day or whichever day it was in the Christmas period. And my dad said to me, like, "Where are you going at this time?" I said, "I'm going to work." I think that's when it clicked in his head. He thought, right, he's
the work ethic's there.
Yeah, I think in his head then he thought, right, he's not going to sit around and do nothing. He's going to work hard. So then the next day he said, "Right, you can start working for me in January." And then that's when I started. It's
really interesting because when I first started, I'd worked in other organisations for a little bit longer than yourself before I came to work here for my dad, and it was always go out and make your mistakes somewhere else before you come and lose me some cash. I was like, what are you trying to say about me to start with? But obviously, if a bit of a kind of sales opportunity goes rogue here, and it impacts turnover in a smaller organisation and an even smaller organisation back kind of 4 or 5 years ago, the impact and the wave you would feel across the business is higher. But then also, I do think that if I would have started to come and work for my dad straight out of university, I wouldn't know anything else. I genuinely wouldn't know any other best practice. And some of the ideas that we discuss, obviously Andrew's got a career in banking before he came here in recruitment. So, and then some of the ideas that I bring to the table are all learnt on the job from other experiences. Actually, it's imperative that I'd had that, because if I'd not done that, some of the ideologies that we implement in the business now, you genuinely come from learning somewhere else.
You learn from your mistakes always, and
I was speaking to Chris, who's a new recruit that we've just brought on this week, and I was saying to him that each time I've moved from something, I did 26 years in banking, so that was the first big.
What particular in banking was it that you did?
I started at the bottom, worked my way up to an area manager, and then sort of went to work in private banking, which was dealing with high income earners and business owners, and that's when I first started to get interested in that aspect of it, in terms of understanding how people operated in running the businesses, etc. But the thing I was saying with there is that I think you take one bit of experience from all that, and I think that's probably where your dad were coming from, in terms of he wanted you to do that, and might have been from the point of view of trying to protect you, but it doesn't always seem like that when it's the other side of the coin.
I think with my dad as well, Alex, my older brother, had left school and basically went straight to work for my dad. He started in the warehouse. Gemma did similar to me. She went to uni, hated it. And then my dad asked Gemma to work for him, which I was a bit begrudging of that. But Gemma went worked, and then Liam, my brother, who's no longer with us, he also worked for my dad. But we had some really difficult times with Liam, substance abuse and stuff like that, and it kind of crept into the workplace. So not that I've ever had that problem, but I think my dad didn't want to be seen as a business owner, because we were a team of 15 or 16, and I didn't think he wanted to be seen as, right, I'm going to let my other son come and work here, and it's fine. We'll just let him come and work and see what happens. I think he had that in the back of his head, that 3 of his other children had come and worked and just been given an opportunity for no reason other than that they're his kids. And then it got to me, and I think obviously, again, learned from his experiences and his potential mistakes, and thought, right, I'm going to do this differently with Tom, and then that's what happened.
I think it's probably been, you've obviously not appreciated that at the time.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I appreciate it now.
But it might have been the right thing for you, and I guess that sort of like leads into sort of saying, how's the last couple of years been? Whilst you were transitioning to you taking over, and actually you and your siblings being in charge. How's that been?
It's been good. It's been a really good 2 years. I always say, and I'm sure we'll touch on it later. I've had a lot of things being quite traumatic in my life. But despite that, I always say things happen for a reason, and even now I still feel like I'm blessed, like I'm really lucky to be in the environment I'm in, and I've got the opportunities that I've got. So the last 2 years have been great. I mean, COVID for everybody was a challenge.
Because you deal with predominantly education markets, so especially when schools were closed, that must have been a massive impact on the business, literally overnight.
Yeah, well now, like the last 6 months, I was saying to my girlfriend, I was like, this last 6 months has made me really appreciate how good my dad was at business, and how and the stress and everything that he had to deal with. Because if I ran this business now and we went into another pandemic with the cash flow and everything like that, and not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, I'd have crumbled. My dad at the time was so resilient. He was like, it is what it is. We'll deal with it.
Yeah.
So it made me really appreciate that from my dad.
And that's where the experience comes in. My old fella was exactly the same, and pretty much all of our projects just closed overnight because we were dealing with businesses and on site at businesses. If that business had closed down, obviously we couldn't go on site. But if the business was still operating, they weren't going to have somebody external come in because of risk of infection, so bringing something in. So all our projects just got put on hold. But at the time it was, don't worry about it, it'll come back around. Cash flow's going down, but it's fine, don't worry about it. And we'll put in a plan. I'd be the same as you. I'm maybe a bit more resilient to it now, but if we'd just started taking over a business during that period of time.
Yeah. How long is it since you've now taken over from your dad?
Officially, I bought the business a year ago, so just over a year,
oh, nice.
So 14 months ago. But then I was acting MD from the October before, so pretty much running the business for just short of 2 years, actually physically owning it a year. But you just learn so much because it's your business, and you've got to keep it's your ideas and it's your management that keeps everything going. Not physically as in I run the ship, it's not like that, but we've got Andrew that runs the business support team, we've got Diane that then runs the finance division, but it's then keeping everything going. That's what your responsibilities are, which when you're then in a position of management or say a director of a department, then you still got that pressure to keep your department going, but then when you're actually responsible for everything, you just feel the pinch a little bit more. And I can't quite put my finger on why, apart from it's just the added pressure to keep everybody going.
So you know that looking after everybody. And one thing that I've sort of took on as in the last 6 months is now I'm responsible for everybody.